Welcome to Tread Talk, brought to you by the Treadmill TV app, where you can watch all of your favorite virtual running videos ad-free. This week, we get to talk to James Anderson, a personal trainer from Akron, Ohio. We're going to talk about his journey to sobriety and also the way he celebrates his sobriety each year. This year, he ran 50 miles, which got the attention of the Cleveland News. He's not a runner, but this is a story of the human spirit and overcoming obstacles. So here we are with James Anderson. Well, let's start with the headlines, because a literal headline was about a local man who ran 50 miles to celebrate his sobriety. So let's start with the 50-miler. What training went into it, why 50 miles, and what you're celebrating.
Okay, so my clean date's October 14th, and that's the day that I ran the 50. Every year, this was the fourth year. That was celebrating 7 years, but this was the fourth year where on my anniversary, I looked to do some sort of strenuous physical activity, typically somewhere out of the country, right? Okay. COVID killed that this year, but 2 years ago, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, and last year we did a 13.5-mile hike in Norway up to this, it's kind of a famous rock structure called Trolltunga.
Yeah, I saw that. It looks like a potato chip sticking out over a valley.
Yeah, right? It's sick. But, and then this year we're actually going to be returning to Kilimanjaro, but COVID kind of messed all the plans up. So I was trying to think of something I could do, and I had already ran a marathon. I had already ran a 50K. So for me, the next logical step was a 50-miler. And right. I won't do something I've already done. So 50 it was, and that's how I made the decision.
I've heard ultramarathoners say that 50K is not a true ultramarathon, so I guess you're a true ultramarathoner now, because a 50K is, 31 miles, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a long marathon.
Yeah, and a lot of times people in the back of the pack, they're a half mile from the start line, and then they have to wander around to get their stuff back, so they end up doing a 31-mile day sometimes anyway. So I think that's why ultramarathoners are so fussy about being 50 miles is the smallest ultramarathon.
Yeah.
You're better known for personal training and then for also being a competitive bodybuilder. So what made running so attractive to you?
Actually, it's not.
It's not attractive. Is that why you did it then?
In 2016, I did really well in my weight class. I won the Mr. Ohio, and I went to nationals, and I took second place at nationals. But I had injured my shoulder leading up to the first event that year, the Ohio, and I was already so close. I kind of trained around it, trained through it as best I could through the rest of that season, and then I ended up needing shoulder surgery that fall. And so that kind of took me out for a little while in regard to the type of training I was used to. And I was searching for something to, get that release, I guess. And my fiance at the time, girlfriend, was running a half marathon. Mm-hmm. And I had never ran more than 2 miles. So 2 weeks before the Akron half marathon, I signed up. I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to go run this 13-mile race. And, I probably ran, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 times leading up to it, and then went and did that, and I hated it. It was terrible. But it's like that, chasing that achievement, pushing that boundary. Okay, if I can do 13, can I do it faster? If I can do 13, can I go further? And so that's really what the running has been for me. Is honestly, for me, it's more of a mental thing than a physical thing. I don't necessarily enjoy the process of running but I like seeing where I can push my mind and body.
And one of the T-shirts that you wear, I don't know if it's your own design, it says the obstacle is the way. That's pretty much what running is. Running is just a giant obstacle of putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it is. I mean, I really love setting a goal and then rising to the occasion. And so I try to set the bar really high, and that's definitely what I did with this 50.
Yeah. Well, before we continue talking about the actual 50 miles that you did, I'm going to ask you some of the same questions that I ask people. Most of the people that I interview are runners, whether it's sprinting, jumping, marathons, or whatnot. But I ask them the same question. So there's a drill you can see in football. It's called Quick Feet. So when you answer these questions, just one word answer, one sentence answer, and then we're going to move on, okay?
Okay.
So what shoes should I buy?
Brooks.
Why does my leg hurt so bad right there?
Overuse.
What watch should I get?
Garmin.
How do I make myself poop before I run?
Coffee.
How do I get faster?
Put in the miles.
How do you carry your phone when you run?
I don't.
True or false? So just say true or false. Strava or it didn't happen?
True.
Best running movie?
I watched the Barkley Marathons documentary.
Yeah, good one. What's your best 5K marathon time?
27 minutes.
Doesn't running hurt your knees?
No.
Best book on running or fitness?
Best book on. You know what? The Supple. What is it? Supple Leopard, I believe.
Okay. And last question, why don't you just sprint the whole time?
Because my lungs couldn't handle it.
Okay. Those are the Quick Feet questions. We'll see how you stack up against the other guests. So going back to the 50 miles, from what I saw, you had a little bit of support, so you had a few family and friends there. I'm assuming that they're also celebrating with you because this is your celebration of being clean off of drugs and alcohol and whatever else was going into your body beforehand. So you said October 14th is clean day. Does that mean that October 13th was the last day you ever used?
Yes,
Okay.
October 13th, 2013.
Okay, so on October 14th, you set forth to do something that will make you miserable because the obstacle is the way. And right now that 50 miles was the obstacle. Talk about your day. Talk about what you did to prepare, what you did during to fuel how you were feeling, and then what the day after felt like for you.
Okay, so I decided to do 50. I had done a 50K before, and I pretty much walked on to it. Which isn't smart, but
I mean, it's not like you're out of shape, though.
No. I'm pretty healthy. I'm pretty in shape. In my head, I'm like, a run feels terrible to me whether I train for it or not.
Yeah.
So I just do the bare minimum in the past, right?
Yeah.
So this 50 was a little different. I knew that I was biting off something rather large this time. So I only gave myself a month to train, but I did run a lot. And so in my research, I started researching, Googling, nutrition for a 50 miler and different things that people use and training for a 50 miler.
Mm-hmm.
And I found like a 16, or no, it was either a 4-month or a 6-month plan. No, it was a 16-week plan for a 50 miler. And I just was like, all right, well, I'm 4 weeks out. So here we are, month 12. What do I have to do?
Yeah.
And I started following this plan. And then, so I probably ran maybe 8 times or so leading up to the 50. And they gradually built up. I won a couple 8-milers, and then I did like a 13.5-miler and a 15-miler back to back, like Friday, Saturday. And then my last long run was I did a marathon, and I was doing the training on the course in sections, and then so I chose the Burning River course for the 50, but instead of doing the entire 50, so that I could start and finish in the same spot and like people could be there, I went 25 out, 25 back. So my last long training run, I did the full course for the first time. And I knew that if I could do 26 by myself, like, because I didn't have a crew or anything like that day, I just packed everything I needed. What I thought I needed, I'm glad I went on this run because I packed like 4 things of blocks. Yeah. And I had like my camel pack and like 2 water bottles. And it was like, all right, I'm good to go. And I started cramping. And so one of the awesome things about this race was I learned that like nutrition's really important over the course of all those miles, like making sure I'm eating not just like gels and stuff like that, but like real food.
I saw you pounding a pickle juice as well. Is that one of the things?
Yeah, we did some pickle juice. I had, in my camel pack, I mixed Pedialyte and water. And then I had 2 regular water bottles on the front. And then I had like some gels and miscellaneous like goos and stuff like that for while I was on the trail. But I had like nutrition planned for when I came in to crew to actually eat. We did some peanut butter and jellies. We did some fresh fruit like pineapple, bananas. I had some donuts. Yeah. I ate a Chipotle burrito.
You basically eat whatever you want when you're running 50 miles in a day.
Whatever I felt like I could eat in that moment, I was eating. Because I was really trying to, I could feel the difference when I had the calories in me versus when I didn't. And, towards the end, the mistake I made was I should have had more liquid calories available to me, because towards the end, like about mile 42, I was having a real hard time eating. Like I couldn't eat anything else. I was not hungry. I couldn't even force it down. And probably like some soda or Gatorade or something would have been ideal for that. We had like a little bit of Body Armor that I had drank, but something like heavier, honestly, like Coca-Cola or something, but then I feel like something where I can use these calories right now.
There's a woman who did, she was attempting the fastest known time. I forget if it wasn't the Appalachian Trail, but it was some through trail like that. I think it was in Vermont, and she drank Coke at every stop because it just tastes good, feels good, and it has all the sugar to get you back up there. So it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, and I had seen, researching nutrition for something like this, I had seen people use, real sugary stuff. So next time I will have some Coke. I'll have some Coke available and some candy bars. I see a lot of these people eating Snickers bars.
Yeah. It's good. It's made a little bit of protein in it, a lot of sugar, some fat, so that good round. So let's talk about what the 2 days afterward, because there's that delayed onset muscle soreness. What was walking like the next day?
It's very surprising, like that night I was pretty broken. The next day I woke up and I was stiff, but once I loosened up, I was like really surprised my feet hurt, but once I started walking around, not so much. I was really surprised at like how good I felt.
Does that come from not skipping leg day?
I'm sure it does because I wasn't training legs while I was doing my running for that month, and I just had my first leg day again this past Wednesday, and my legs were so much more sore from squatting than they were from running that 50 miles.
It makes a difference having that base of just squats and reps in your legs.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Tell me what it means to you, because so 2014, it's been 6 years now?
7.
7 years sober. Okay.
2013.
Okay. I can do math. So October 14th in 2013.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me what it means to you and what it means to other people who are celebrating sobriety, because a lot of people haven't experienced sobriety themselves as far as coming back to it. But nowadays, I've lost a friend. She recovered. She seemed to be doing well, but then she relapsed, and it always seems like that relapse is when people die, and she unfortunately passed away in 2019. So tell me, and I mean, tell other people, what does it mean to have sobriety back?
It's brutal seeing people dying all the time. I'm involved in a 12-step fellowship, so I see people come, I see people go. Some people go and they come back. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they die. And it's a constant reminder of what's waiting for me out there if I chose to stop doing what I needed to do to have the life I have today. For me, my clean day is the most important date in my life. It's the only thing I celebrate. I don't really celebrate my birthday at all or anything like that, because it's almost, I feel as if it's when my life really began, So I have everything before 2013 as like reference experience, and I mean, I've been through different things that I feel like I pull on as character building and things that helped me become who I am now. But my life really began in 2013 when I put everything down and I learned to live without it. I was so dependent for so many years on substances to deal with life. Learning how to deal with life without the substances was, that's what recovery really is. And it's really like this awesome, never-ending cycle of like just working on becoming a better and better version of yourself. So it was a gift for me, because I know that I would not be who I am. I wouldn't have the things I have. I wouldn't be doing the things that I do right now if I hadn't cleaned up and like started working on my recovery.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like building muscle is breaking down and then rebuilding stronger is what makes things. It's the struggle, like what you said. For somebody that's never experienced coming back into sobriety, or doesn't have a close family member or close friend, because the people that I know that have been lost to addictions were acquaintances, people that I was sad for, and I was sad for their families, but it didn't affect me deeply personally. How can you relate the importance of it to somebody that may not know it? Like you said, it's almost like when your life began. What were those first? What was that first year like?
Well, okay, so I had used substances to change my emotional state pretty much my whole life, leading up to when I got clean. So I used drugs and alcohol to feel good, better, or not at all. And so the painful things that I didn't want to feel or I didn't want to deal with, I used. And happy moments, I used. So when I first got clean, towards the end of my using, I really didn't feel anything. After years and years of abusing substances, you kind of like all those emotions go into like hibernation. And when you get clean, they all surface, but you don't know what to do with them, and you can't even necessarily recognize what they are. So my like early recovery, I was like happy or I was angry, and there was like nothing in between. I couldn't identify any emotions, and anger is a secondary emotion, so maybe it was embarrassment or insecurity, something that triggered the anger. There was something beforehand, but I wasn't able at that time to identify that.
Okay.
So, you get this flood of emotions that you have to learn how to deal with and feel through things, because in the past, if things were going really anyway, I would just use. So now I don't have that. I have to learn how to deal with life and feel these emotions. And that is tricky on your own, which is why we have support groups for it. These support groups help me have someone who I can reach out to who understands what I'm going through, because they themselves have been through what I'm going through at some point in their lives. And so I just leaned very heavily on my 12-step fellowship. I'd like call people, like 5-6 people a day, like, hey man, this is going on, like I'm freaking out. And they're like, cool man, don't worry,
Well, that's something I never really heard about, is just that emotional intelligence that you have to relearn, because I see that in teenagers. I was a teacher for some time, and I was a substitute, and I was a bus driver, and I worked with a lot of kids, and I see, grade school kids up to high school kids learning those emotional intelligences, like you said, learning why you're angry, because it's, like you said, it's a secondary emotion, and figuring out why you feel certain ways. It's been masked for a long time, and all of a sudden you have to deal with it. That's a lot tougher than, honestly, I've given recovering addicts credit for, is that it's not just leaning on a drug or alcohol or something else. It's dealing with some real growth. And I never really thought of it that way, but I think you put it in a really strong way, that it's that emotion that you need to relearn.
Yeah, I started using when I was 15, and probably like most people, just drinking and partying.
Yeah, not thinking of a consequence.
Right, and over time, people grow out of that. Most people grow out of that. Right. They progress and they move on. But I never did. So I just partied more and partied harder. And we know people who, I'm 33 now, or I'm about to be 33. And I know people now who probably party harder than they should.
Yeah.
At this age, right? But so really, like, my emotional growth stopped when I was 15 years old, right? So I got clean when I was 25. So that's like a decade of emotional growth that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then, bam, it just hits you all at once, and you have to learn how to do this thing that everyone else has been doing this whole time. And, we're fortunate to have people who kind of understand that process, because I couldn't go to my mom and be like, hey, Mom, like, what the hell's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Like, she wouldn't get it.
So a lot of people that are recovering do use exercise, and especially running. It seems that a lot of people that I know found running as a way of escape. Have you researched, or do you know why that is, that exercise and running seems to tamper a lot of the emotional distress that a lot of people feel in recovery?
I think it's a multitude of things. We all know that exercise does release, natural endorphins. It makes us feel better. But I feel like when we first get clean, we go from pretty much only focusing on the substances and using like 24 hours a day to now without this large, I mean, like our whole life was pretty much built around this. Now we have all this time. And it's like, okay, well, what do I do with it?
Yeah.
What do they say? Like, idle hands are the devil's playground.
Yeah.
So we have to channel that energy somewhere. And I think that being physically, active is a way for everyone, but especially people in recovery to kind of channel that addictive nature and those emotions and all of the stuff that we have going on into something that we can control. When you first get clean, you feel pretty powerless, and like I said, you're kind of learning how to live life for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And the physical aspect of it is something I feel like people can control, and so maybe they kind of like hold on to that because it's something that can be constant in their lives that they have power over.
That makes a lot of sense. Start with one small thing that you can control and then try to make that more and more.
Yeah.
So you are not just an avid athlete, you're also a personal trainer. And what's the name of your gym?
The gym's American Muscle and Fitness. That's the gym that I train out of.
Okay.
My stuff is James Anderson Ambition.
Okay. And so what's the difference with James Anderson Ambition that people get from you when they get you as a personal trainer?
When it all started, I've always been very focused on the mindset of it all. And so early on, I understood that there's a lot of things other than just the physical work that takes place in a gym that keeps people from showing up. There's fear of being judged, fear of not knowing what people are, not knowing what to do when they get there. People don't want to look stupid. There's a lot of things that keep people from just coming in the door before the work even begins. And so I kind of wanted to understand what those limitations were, why people may have had limited beliefs on what they were able to achieve with their physical selves. And so I got certified and I started training because I felt like, especially with weight loss, most people who are overweight, especially, 50, 60, 80 pounds overweight, don't want to be overweight.
Mm-hmm.
But they, like I, can't stop doing whatever it is that they're doing, right? So I imagine that most of the time they're complacent, but oftentimes it's nutrition, right? So they want to eat better, but they go to the store and they buy food and it dies in the fridge, and they find themselves at Wendy's again.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be eating Wendy's, but they can't stop. It is, food can be a drug just like anything else. And so I understand that mindset. And because I was able to, with the help of, my support group and stuff like that, make it to the other side of that, I felt like that knowledge and experience would be beneficial for me helping somebody who's, 80 pounds overweight, at risk of diabetes. Their doctors telling them, listen, you gotta clean up the diet, you gotta exercise, this and that. But here's this pill, and everyone's looking for the pill, like, oh, the pill's gonna fix it.
Yeah. But
it doesn't. I love fitness because the only way to get it is to do it. it can't be given to you. You have to earn it. There's no way around that. And so I love taking people who are at, the brink of serious health conditions, long-term conditions, and giving them the life that they deserve and making them the best versions of themselves. The process of it is very, very fulfilling. Taking somebody and because it's not just the diet and the exercise, but over the course of a transformation like that, they think differently. They see the world differently. They see themselves differently. And they feel much more capable going out and taking on challenges in other areas of their lives.
You've got an incredible story. If people want to find out more about you, because I know you've got to go soon, we've been talking about 35 minutes. Where do people find you? Either on the internet or social media? How do they contact you? So
my Facebook is James Anderson Ambition. My Instagram is Anderson_ambition. And my website is JamesAndersonAmbition.com.
Awesome. Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you. I learned a little bit about how the combination of sobriety and exercise all have a lot of things in common. We'll be looking for you on Instagram and seeing how you continue to grow. Hopefully next October 14th, you can do something even bigger than 50 miles.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking the time to talk. We'll see you around.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye.